Anybody else out there feel like Smackdown was just a little bit different tonight? As if a certain producer from another show maybe reared his big buck teeth and took a chomp at the Smackdown creative, because tonight didn't feel like Smackdown to me. Felt a little bit like Raw Light. Wasn't really a bad show. We had some great wrestling. But all in all, I was not happy with the outcome of this week's SmackDown Live. Let's get into it. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Leave a comment below if you agree, disagree. Let me know if I'm crazy. Hit that like button most especially. Thank you for tuning in to the SledgeHammer Sports Network. This is the SledgeHammer Wrestling Show's SmackDown Live review for November the 8th, 2016. And boy, am I not happy. We had ups and downs, brights and darks, and no darker, to me, in my opinion, than the way the show went off the air. And we will get to that. We're not going to do your traditional review that you get everywhere else, because we're just going to talk about what I care about and what made sense, and which would really leave not much to talk about, if I'm being honest. So let's get started with how they started this show. No, you know what? Screw that. We're going to start with why I'm so upset. And mainly, the first thing being that Baron Corbin, who seems like he's been drinking the Raw potion and doesn't want to cooperate with his team, doesn't care seemingly about winning this Survivor Series match, and he's placed into a match for vengeance against Kalisto. And, the match itself was a flop. Baron Corbin comes out, Kalisto comes out, gets wrecked by Baron Corbin, and then Baron Corbin falls. See, if we had the video working, you would have seen me do my air quotations, because he falls and then sells a knee injury, and then we have Kalisto go on to further injure the knee, which is how you know it's just a work, or at least I think it's just a work, and bottom line being, Baron Corbin's off the Survivor Series team. The one member of the team that I was very pleasantly surprised to see on the team is now off the team. And who are we replacing him with? At the end of the show, Daniel Bryan has a list of wrestlers on which he makes mention of the fact that he is on this list, but he's not allowed to wrestle. And though he perused the entire list of superstars, the only thing that he can think is big enough, the only person on that list big enough to help the SmackDown squad, is Shane McMahon. Are you fucking kidding me? Is this a joke? We have one more week for them to remedy this. I am not on board with this decision at all. I was very happy with the announcement that James Ellsworth was going to be the SmackDown mascot. I actually said that to a friend of mine, that's what his role should be. He should be the official SmackDown mascot. And maybe they had my backyard bugged. Most likely not. And if they did, they probably wouldn't be taking my ideas, because if they did, the shows would be much better than they are. This was not a good idea. I don't know where the hell they're going with this. I don't know why they're sticking Shane McMahon in there. Is Brock Lesnar going to fuck this up for them? What is going to happen? There's still no reason for them to even have this match. They're fighting over nothing. It's a SmackDown versus Raw match just for bragging rights. Bragging rights mean nothing. All in all, what did we have here tonight? We had Raw Light, like I said before. It was nothing but a bunch of 4-minute matches, 5-minute matches, with 2 exceptions, both of which were fantastic. The women's title match was great, although it was interrupted by a 3-minute commercial break. I was only glad that they allowed more time when they came back from break, so it actually gave me the chance to get back into the match. Fantastic match. Great finish with Alexa putting her feet on the rope, out of the view of the ref. So this feud is long from over, and it's going to be a good one. These girls can wrestle. If you watch that match, you know what I'm talking about. Alexa Bliss, fantastic. Submission skills, work in the body parts, real wrestling from women. not just hair pulling and hip tosses and nonsense that we get on Raw, which is actually no wrestling. We get no wrestling on Raw. And the little bit that we do get is just horrendous. Who cares about Alicia Fox? Nobody. You know? But here on Raw, we had a fantastic women's title match. Other than that, the other women's match of the night, again, it felt like I was watching Raw. They came out, this match was over within minutes. And what point is it really to have Naomi going up against Natalya? And Natalya is now the coach of Team SmackDown, apparently. I don't know. It just didn't feel right tonight, you guys. It didn't feel like the SmackDown that we've been getting. And even the main event itself, again, you had almost the same thing they did last night. They had people that are on the Survivor Series team representing the blue brand fighting each other in the ring. And although you had AJ on commentary talking about how they will be unified and they will be working together and they are going to take it home for SmackDown, in the ring you see everybody fighting, and it just doesn't make sense. I don't like the whole direction. And the way they're building up Survivor Series now has taken a turn for the worse. And I could only attribute that to the fact that they now have to work with Raw. And working with those monkeys is probably like working with coal or a bag of hammers. Or, you know, probably more equated to sawing your own arm off with a very dull jigsaw. Because it just didn't feel right. It wasn't good. And I'm very disappointed in the whole outcome. The match at the end, you know, it had its good moments. It was a good match. The main event. What did they give us as a main event? They gave us the new Wyatt family. How about that? The new Wyatt family, they're calling it, with Randy Orton as an official member. This is just leading to something greater, as we've talked about before, everybody. Don't get your panties in a bunch. Randy Orton is not part of the Wyatt family. This is leading to something greater. We all just have to wait and see. And they were supposed to go up against Baron Corbin, James Ellsworth, and Dean Ambrose. But again, as we earlier mentioned, Corbin plays off an injury given to him in the match with Kalisto, and he's out of the match, and he cannot compete. He didn't want to be in the match anyway. Should have just took him out of the match. You put him in this other match, and now he's out, and he's not on the Survivor Series team. Why is Baron Corbin on the Survivor Series team? I don't understand. The one damn person I was looking forward to. I hate to keep repeating myself, but it was very upsetting. And, you know, we're going live with this review right now. As soon as the show went off the air, I didn't write up any notes. I didn't want to waste any time. I'm just getting on here. We're going raw. Pardon the pun, because we're going to be much better than Raw. But it's just not making sense. None of this is making sense at all. The one good thing that I did like, the one major announcement that they had that piqued my interest in the least, was that at Survivor Series, we're going to have a cruiserweight match between Kalisto and the cruiserweight champion Brian Kendrick. And the winner of that match gets the cruiserweights for their respective brand. And I have never in my life pulled so hard for Kalisto. I want him to win so bad so that the cruiserweights can go to SmackDown and hopefully be properly used. I'm also hoping that they stop cross-branding promotions and doing inter-brand matches. Don't do it. Have Raw and SmackDown be represented at shows like WrestleMania and the Royal Rumble and whatever, and have absolutely nothing to do with one another. Because it's obvious to me that having to be involved with Raw means having to create with Raw, which means we get a shittier SmackDown product, which is what we got tonight. I can't stress it enough. I do not understand what has happened to the Blue Show tonight. It was just awful. We started out AJ coming out, pretty good promo with Dean Ambrose, and then it just like broke down from there. It picked up with the women's title match, and then we had the main event tag match, and, you know, the flow was right. They booked the show properly, but the angles are just terrible. I don't understand. Squash match after squash match after squash match. We finally get to see Breezango again, albeit for a whole 3 fucking minutes, where they go and they beat the Vaudevillains, a team that we've been seeing over and over again. 2 heel teams fighting against each other. I guess maybe they're trying to turn Breezango face, coming out dressed in like strippogram cops, calling themselves the Fashion Police. That reeks of Raw all over it. And if it's not, then I apologize, and damn you, SmackDown, for doing that. Why you couldn't have just left them the way they were and actually have them on the show for the last few months. You have them come out after being off TV all this time. They come and go over on a team that's been competing, and it just doesn't make sense. Again, nothing on this night made any sense except Becky Lynch retaining the title. Everything else was just, what am I watching? Why are we watching this? I don't mind James Ellsworth. He's the one thing that proves that SmackDown was doing things right. Because you take a guy with no face and no chin, but he's got a little bit of charisma, and he's got something with the fans, and you made a star out of him. People want to see James Ellsworth. It's infected the whole world. They're in Scotland. Glasgow, Scotland is cheering for James Ellsworth. They were so into the show that they were cheering, yes, for Shane McMahon being announced as part of this team. I certainly was not. He is not a suitable replacement for me. As I've stated many times on my show, I do not want commissioners and GMs and authority figures involved in matches. I want you to be the authority. I want you to be unbiased. I want you to make and focus on creating the show, not be part of the show. It ruins it. And you ruin the SmackDown team. You have a plethora of talent there, squashing Apollo Crews again. You could have put Apollo Crews on that team. It would have made more sense. He's been in the feud with Baron Corbin leading up into this moment, and why you couldn't have had him as a replacement? Oh, well, maybe because he just lost to Kurt Hawkins. What the fuck was that? How dare they do that to Apollo Crews? Clearly, they don't know what they're doing with him, or do they care more about Kurt Hawkins? Because nobody else does. People are behind Apollo Crews. He just doesn't have the charisma, and he doesn't have the character yet. They brought him up too soon from NXT before he really found out who he was. He was on the cusp of becoming something big, and then you brought him up because you saw the potential, and he was being, left in the muddy waters of Raw and not being used properly, and then you split the brands, and he goes to SmackDown. It just, again, why is Shane McMahon the replacement? Go down the list. I would have, Kane would have pissed me off, but I would have known where they were coming from with Kane. All right, he's the reason why he was inserted into the match tonight as Baron Corbin's replacement for the 6-man tag match. Like, anybody but Shane. I almost thought for a minute they were gonna go with Daniel Bryan, and that maybe somebody cleared him or he's got something, but they're not gonna do that. Obviously. But instead of even maybe bringing in some kind of surprise from outside, why we can't have surprises, I talked about that in the Raw review also. I don't know why we're not allowed to be surprised anymore. It just sucks right now for the lead-in to Survivor Series to take such a left-hand turn, in my view. SmackDown had their shit together, man, and Raw was doing their own thing. And now they're getting closer to working together, and everything just feels the same again. And somebody needs to help me out, please. Let me know if I'm wrong. Comment below. Interact with me. Tweet at me. At Nick Nightmare on Twitter. It's because I need your guys' opinion. I need people to help me figure out what we can do as a fan base to get together and try to make some kind of stand. Because clearly, as Americans, we can't do that. This country's in a shambles right now. Donald Trump is leading in this election, and we're going to have a former reality star who is a sexist, racist person as the President of the United States. Not that Hillary's any better. I did not vote at all. I have no stance on this election because we're fucked either way, everybody. But we can't come together as a country for the president. I don't think I'll be able to rally the troops and get us to come together to fight Titan Towers and Vince McMahon and Kevin Dunn and the hands of doom that are writing and producing these shows right now. And, before we really get in over our head and say some stuff we really don't want to say, we're going to call it on this review because I don't want to talk about it anymore. It was just terrible tonight, you guys. Props to Becky and Alexa. Props to the guys for the match that they put on at the end. Very entertaining. Loved the finish with Ellsworth. Tagging in, even though he was instructed not to by Kane and Dean Ambrose, unbeknownst to Ambrose's almost lifeless body. Getting the crowd all geared up because he was going to hit Bray Wyatt with the no chin music. I love that name for his move, by the way. I just fucking love it. And obviously goes to deliver that kick, misses, gets a Sister Abigail for his troubles, and the new Wyatt family gets the 1, 2, 3 to win the main event. Like I said, everything else non-existent. Bunch of squash matches, nothing we need to really get in depth with. I ranted as much as I could about all the things that I didn't like tonight, and being that it's a shorter show, I guess I don't have as much to say, and I don't want to risk this becoming as brutal as a Raw review, because as you guys know, it's just been terrible. Here's to hoping that tomorrow night, Wednesday, NXT is going to pick up my spirits, trying to still get Lucha Underground on my TVs and in my eyeballs so that I can review that for you and we can talk about that together and learn together. Thank you guys very much for being here. This has been the SledgeHammer Wrestling Show. I am Nick Nightmare, your host, always alongside Blue, the beautiful snowball microphone. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys later.